If you're looking for burial insurance on yourself or a loved one, make sure that you avoid the 4 most common scams that I see every single day as an insurance agency owner. We're going to go into what those scams are. I'm going to show you examples on my screen. And my hope is by the end of this video, you'll have the education necessary to make sure you purchase an excellent final expense burial life insurance plan for yourself or a loved one. So let's begin. So the first scam you're going to see is what's called the limited death benefit. Let me explain to you what that is and then show you some examples. So a limited death benefit typically is associated with guaranteed acceptance life insurance coverage. You see this from companies like Colonial Penn, AARP, and many of the TV commercials, as well as advertisements you see on social media. So what is a limited death benefit? In short, all a limited death benefit is a limitation on the amount of coverage that you or a loved one would receive when you pass away within a period of time. The most common example that we see is a 2-year limited death benefit. So if you die by natural causes in the first 2 years, then you don't get the full amount of coverage. You get basically your money back you paid in, plus some sort of small level of interest payment. For example, with Colonial Penn, if you die within the first 2 years, you get your money back on their guaranteed acceptance plan plus 7% interest. So if you paid $1,000 in, you'd get it back plus 7%. So what's the problem with that? Well, the problem with that, of course, is that many people inadvertently purchase those plans thinking they're fully covered when they in fact weren't, and they get a small amount of coverage paid out versus the very large amount required to pay for final expenses like cremation and burial expenses. So we're here on AARP's Guaranteed Acceptance Life Insurance Program. I've started an application just to show you what this looks like. Of course, my name's not Mickey, it's David Duford, but I put in Mickey Mouse so they wouldn't know who it really was. But as we go through here and look through the application, the main thing I want to point out to you is right here on the limited death benefit period. Full benefits will be paid for accidental death from day one. However, in the first 2 years, death from natural causes will pay a limited benefit of 110% plus of premiums paid. So in other words, basically you'll get your premiums back plus another 10%. So why is that a problem? Because many of you out there watching this, even with health issues and histories, may qualify for first day full coverage from another company. And the truth is, death, we don't know when the final date's going to be for any of us. So if you had a chance to be fully covered, why would you not take the chance to qualify with another program that's going to be first day full coverage, at least before you tried this, because you know what you're going to get, which is the worst possible option, which better nothing, but it is a 2-year natural death waiting limited death period. Now, the second scam to be aware of is what is known as rate increases. A lot of you may be surprised that when you go out to buy life insurance, that at some point into the future, you may be facing a rate increase later on in the life of the policy at exactly the time when you're retired, your income is limited, and you simply cannot afford it. So on the screen here, I'm showing you Banner Life's term insurance plans. Most of the programs out there that have rate increases are term insurance. And so anytime you look at term insurance, it's likely at some point the rates will increase. But if we look down here, you can see in all of these examples to the left of the descriptions, premiums may increase annually in years 11 or later, but you see that in all of these. And the point being is that you will have a price increase most likely. They say may because there's a chance they may not, but the vast majority of term insurance plans do go up. And the point being is if you take out a plan like this at 60 and then you hit 80 and you had an OP term 20, you're covered well for those 20 years. But at this point at 80, you're probably going to have a significant price increase because the way that term insurance is priced is based off of when they have price increases based off of that current age. So it usually is substantially higher, shockingly higher, if you will. And turns out is not a good idea when it comes to making sure your burial expenses are covered because, look, in retirement, we just don't get paid as much as when we were working. Okay, scam number 3 is terminating coverage. And as the word terminating infers, this is pretty much all term life insurance plans. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a surprising thing if you've never learned of it, but term insurance terminates. It's what I tell all my clients. So why is a terminating plan bad? Well, obviously, if you're counting on your plan to be there to pay for your final expenses, cremation or burial expenses, but you outlived the plan, well, how good was that plan? In other words, if you gave me $1 million life insurance plan and I paid $50 a month for it, but I died a day after it canceled, was that worth the money? Would have been better to get even a $10,000 plan for $50 a month. Like, what would I have gotten more value out of? Obviously, the smaller plan that didn't terminate versus the one that was huge in coverage but wasn't there when I needed it. So I'm here on Globe Life's application process online. Globe Life, they're the buy your life insurance for $1 a month. That's only for the first month, folks. It's not for forever. And it gives you some options here on coverage. Well, what Globe Life typically spams you with in the mail and other ways is their term insurance product. And so if you read down here where it says click here to read policy disclosure, I'll read it to you. This is a modified premium term to age 80. And what that means is that it's only good up to age 80, and it also has price increases in 4 or 5 year increments if you continue to read through here. And then just to conclude, this plan will expire and the policy will terminate at the policy anniversary following the insured's 80th birthday. So sometimes after your 80th birthday, depending on when you originally took out the plan, this policy terminates and you don't have any coverage. And if the whole point of you buying a life insurance plan was to guarantee that there would be coverage there when you die, what good was that term insurance plan? So the fourth and final scam is spending too much on your burial insurance. You may not be aware of this, but there are dozens of different kind of burial life insurance companies out there, all at different prices. And it's not always the best idea to buy the most expensive product available. And in fact, if you buy a plan that's fully covered, where the rates never go up, and you don't ever have to worry about it terminating, well, most of these plans are mostly the same. And a lot of it, to an extent, comes down to not just the quality of the company, but certainly what the price is. And you can pay a substantially higher amount for coverage, whereas at another company, it may even be half as much. And what I'm going to do now is show you some examples between Colonial Penn, which is very expensive, versus another one of our companies at the Dig Agency, my company, that is substantially less expensive and a brand name company that most of you are very well aware of. So on the screen here, we have Colonial Penn's per unit price guide. The unit is the thing that's $9.95. You may have seen this. It's not really $9.95 if you buy more than one unit, so you have to multiply multiple units to get the coverage you want. We're going to look at a 70-year-old female here, and per unit's $1,000. Let's say I want $10,000. So I'd have to buy 10 units, 10 times 1,000, and then I'd also have to multiply 10 units times $9.95, and that is 10 times $9.95, which is $99.50. There you go, right? So we have, for Colonial Penn, a very expensive price for $10,000, which is $99.50. Well, what about comparison? Again, this is why you should always work with brokers that can shop around to find you the best combination of price and value. What is it like at another company? Well, if you go over to Mutual of Omaha, I ran, just to show you this again, a woman that's 70 in Alabama, first day full coverage, female, non-smoker, $10,000 in coverage. We run that price, and it actually is $53.24 a month for the same exact amount of coverage that Colonial Penn offers, and gives you first day full natural and accidental death. And in fact, if I doubled it, you can almost get double the amount of coverage with the Mutual of Omaha. There are other companies out there that we offer to as well and that you can shop. But the point here is that, man, you can spend a lot of money and get arguably an inferior product because it doesn't have first day full coverage versus another product in another company that's competitively priced that actually fully covers you from the first payment. So it's very important for you to do your due diligence, work with the right people, and shop to make sure that you're getting the best combination of price and value. Okay, so some closing thoughts here. First of all, thank you so much for watching. Second of all, I think the best plan to get, I've showed you all these bad options. Well, what are the good options, right? Well, I want my clients who are looking for final expense protection, they want peace of mind, pay for their burial and cremation costs. The bottom line is they need what's called final expense whole life insurance. So whole life insurance, the rates never go up, so you don't have to worry about some huge price increase coming. As long as you pay the premium, keep the policy active, the premium never goes up. The coverage may allow you to get first day full coverage. Depends on your health, but a lot more people, even with health history issues, can be fully covered from the first day. So that means from the first payment, then you're fully protected for the full death benefit, the amount of coverage your beneficiary would receive, as opposed to waiting 2 years. You want to avoid that if all possible. You want to pay a competitive price for coverage. You don't want to pay too much. Why would you send almost double the amount to Colonial Penn when you could get the same thing if you're health eligible with Mutual of Omaha for half the price? And you want a plan that never cancels due to age or health. Again, don't fall into the trap of getting a cheap plan. Yes, it's less expensive to get term insurance with the Globe and some of these other companies, but then you end up aging out of it because you lived a long life. More people are living longer, even if their health is bad, because medicine keeps life going. It's maybe not a quality of life issue, but there's a quantity of life that seems to be getting longer and longer. And picking a term insurance plan that you may outlive is never a smart idea. So the best kind of plan is the final expense whole life insurance plan. Rates never go up, coverage never cancels. You may be eligible for first day full coverage. And the important thing is that if you work with a brokerage like us at the Dig Agency, we shop around to find the best combination of price and coverage. So it's much more likely that you're going to pay far less for far better coverage than if you just picked a random company that only represents itself. So if you'd like more information on working with us, it is very simple. You can do one of two things. You can call us, that's the best thing, at 888-626-0439. That's 888-626-0439. Look in the description below. You can just get our number that way. Or you can go to diglifeagency.com and request a quote that way online. If you don't want to call us, that's totally fine. And then we'll get you more information that way. The link to that website as well is also below. I hope you learned something from this and got some value out of it. Feel free to leave any comments or thoughts on any scams that you've run into in the life insurance and burial insurance world. Happy to have those shared. Maybe you can help somebody out with your experience by leaving your comment below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is David Duford. Of course, I own the Dig Agency. All right, thank you.